Herr Außenminister, was ist konkret zu erwarten von den Treffen für die wirtschaftliche oder weitere?
Espera, no, Álvarez. Quickly, please. Okay.
Vorschlag machen, dass sie stärker auch die Jugendlichen einbeziehen. Wir haben einen massiven Brain Drain gehabt. Albanien hat fast 30% seiner Bevölkerung auswandert. Ich glaube, auch da müssen wir als Europäer ansetzen.
Alexander Vucic kommt nicht, ist gerade gekommen. Es soll ja auch versucht werden, irgendwie bei der Situation Kosovo, Serbien zu entschärfen. Ist dann irgendwie nicht zu erwarten?
Also solche Treffen haben immer den Vorteil, dass dann in Ruhe vielleicht noch ein anderes Thema besprechen kann, ohne dass das jetzt gleich sozusagen in der Öffentlichkeit steht. Das ist auch wichtig, weil wir haben gesehen, die Situation am Balkan weiterhin ist. Denken wir nach auch an Bosnien-Herzegowina, denken wir eben an die Zusammenstöße in Nordkosovo, wo es schon auch Tote gegeben hat. Also jedes Treffen ist sinnvoll und wichtig, und wir als Europäer und wir als Europäische Union müssen ganz klar sozusagen den Takt vorgeben und sagen, Nachbarschaftspolitik ist unsere geostrategische Hauptaufgabe. Danke.
Que venga por aquí.
Por aquí.
No sé por dónde van a entrar. Vale. Va a venir por la izquierda. Sí.
Good morning, Minister.
Good morning. I'm the Minister of Foreign Affairs of Spain. Spain is represented here today by Prime Minister Pedro Sánchez. We are the current European Union presidency of the Council, and we consider one of our priorities to foster Western Balkans integration into the European Union. We will be carefully waiting for the enlargement packet that will be out in a few weeks in order to foster that integration, especially in these days in which both, because of the war of aggression of Russia to Ukraine, and also for the situation in the Middle East, in which once again I want to reiterate our strongest condemnation to the terrorist attack of Hamas against Israel, that Israel has the right to defend itself, but that also international law and humanitarian international law must be respected. Civilians must be protected, and international humanitarian law does not support the displacement of civilian population. And therefore, we want the cooperation with Palestine to continue both bilaterally and the European Union. It's most important in all this setting that we join forces, EU and the Western Balkans. And we come here with three objectives: to continue fostering the integration in the single market of the Western Balkans, the fact that we can improve the digital and green transition of the Western Balkans, and at the same time that we can help to better neighboring relationship between all the different countries of Western Balkans. That's our spirit, that's how we work bilaterally, and that's how we are going to work as European Union presidency. Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Bye.
Well, welcome everybody. I thought it was the right place, the right moment to expose the abduction of Europe, masterpiece of Gian Domenico Cerini, an Italian painter of the 17th century who was under the mastery of Guido Reni, and among other things, he made this painting, which original title is L'Enlèvement d'Europe, based on the famous myth of Zeus, or as Ovidius says, Jupiter, that transformed himself in a bull to get Europa, from her own place beyond the sea. And I want to wholeheartedly thank the Grandmaster Angelin Prelozai, who is an Albanian French shining star in the world of contemporary ballet. And he left Albania when he was in the tummy of his mother. And it's there that he learned to dance because of the mother escaping with the father through the mountains. And France adopted him. And he is here to welcome His Majesty Emmanuel Macron later on. So please, Angeline, if you want to say a few words.
Thank you. Thank you. Merci, Eddie. Thank you, everybody, to have the patience to see these things, little things. 2 days ago, Eddie asked me, oh, you have to do something special, a ballet, because I bring this incredible painting, and I want that to introduce this painting. And I was like, Eddie, are you crazy? Or do you think I can create new things like that in 24 hours? And then I bring my 2 dancers here, and yesterday night from 9 o'clock until 12 in the evening, we start working on this idea, and to try to connect the painting, the art of the painting and the art of the dance, and then you see. But I want just to thank Eddie to give me the opportunity to take this risk to show you this dance behind this painting. Thank you, Eddie. Merci.
And I told him this goes very well because the Western Balkan paint, the European Union dance. So thank you again. And to say it all, he was struggling until midnight for this little piece to welcome you. And I was struggling to stop raining because we couldn't welcome the Berlin summit process with Dutch, German, British weather, right? So enjoy, and let's continue our very beautiful day. Thank you. Znači, tu dalje celular, moje telefone digitale.
Ti nuk je këtu brenda te plenaria. Jo, ti je për pjesën e Kemrit. Kjo është pjesë jo. As një tjetër. Do të thonë jo, unë kam vetëm një problem. Komisioni Europea e zona nuk kanë tjetër. Jo. Vetëm ka shumërës edhe unë sa me gjendje filmuar. Ti je për pjesën e
Talk with the cabinet. The only one, and now.
Okay, this is no? Okay, bravo, Gary. Një kështu këtu mua kaq. Mama, vetëm të vira Andrea, s'm vjen në numër.
prince named Vid, whose wife was Princess Marie of Netherlands, and of whom it is remembered the name the hideous French press gave him, Prince du Vide. He was picked by the European great powers to calm down the independent Albanians, but couldn't last longer than 6 months. The real planning took off when the Albanian king, a smart guy with no royal blood who started his public career as interior minister, commissioned it to the Italians. Later on, a famous Soviet writer who passed by, Ilya Ehrenburg, wrote, "I have seen cities without boulevards, but in Tirana, I saw for the first time a boulevard without a city." After World War II, Albania fell under the most ruthless communist regime of the entire Soviet Empire. Enver Hoxha, the Albanian dictator, was an ultra-Orthodox Stalinist who came to power thanks to the support of the Yugoslav communists. Nevertheless, he quickly denounced as treacherous the non-alignment policy of the neighborly communist Yugoslavia and strengthened the ties with Kremlin. After the death of Stalin, he condemned as high treason the new course of the so-called peaceful coexistence with the West, launched by the new Kremlin Tsar, Nikita Khrushchev, and severed ties with Moscow. Albania pledged eternal loyalty to Stalinism and walked out of the Warsaw Treaty, becoming the only country to fight both the American imperialism and the Soviet social imperialism. To him, Enver Hoxha, you were just the mad dogs of one or the other. The Albanian 1960s and 70s were marked by the devastating influence of communist China's Cultural Revolution. At that horrific time, Albania experienced two shocking waves. The banishment of God made Albania the only constitutionally enshrined atheist republic in the world. Thousands of churches and mosques were ravaged and razed to the ground. Hundreds of thousands of religious artworks and books were burned in the streets. All the clergy was arrested, killed, and jailed for life. The second shock that followed was the ban of the world 20th century art and culture.
I need somebody.
All the music, visual arts, literature, and movies deemed as degenerate modernism were forbidden, and all the rest was filtered through the lens of the so-called Marxist-Leninist critique, from Odyssey to Lenin himself, whose book, What is to be Done, was also barred. Architecture made no exception. No private property or private cars were allowed, not even free movement within the country. Everyone's workplace was decided by the state, which controlled demographics as everything else with an iron fist. The fall of communism propelled Tirana to the other extreme of the pendulum. Faced with a massive and rapid demographic change, the capital saw hundreds of thousands of people flocking in and settling in the large agricultural fields surrounding the city. The 1990s were defined by a devastating number of people squatting free land from the center to all the surrounding outskirts of the capital. Tirana lost all its parks and green areas. Heaps of trees were cut, and illegal buildings mushroomed everywhere, day and night, year after year. In 2000, when I was elected mayor, the city had a budget of 0.something for capital investments. There were literally only 78 lamps still working in the public lighting network of Tirana, and energy cuts were dominant for years. Collection of municipal taxes amounted to a mere 4%. No other capital city in Europe had to start off from beneath the scratch, like Tirana did.
What have we done to the world?
No other city in Europe had to experience the amount of illegal building demolitions Tirana witnessed. More than 10,000 1- to 8-story edifices had to go to leave room for a massive reconstruction of infrastructure and a large replanting of trees. The pyramids, once the pompous symbol of the dictatorship, turned into an abandoned monument, a hideous symbol of all the urban ugliness we grew in. Today, this building is reborn to serve the hopes and dreams of the Albanian youth, while Tirana is working hard every day to become the place to be. And here we are, together. I hope you understand a little bit better now why we love you unconditionally. We learn step by step that you are far from being perfect, but we know better than everyone else that you are the best company one can get in this world. And trust me, we'll convince you that we are the best friends you can get all the way. I hope it was not boring, and enjoy this day in the most Euro-optimist country of Europe. This is not propaganda. It is the EU barometer that says it every year and again. Welcome to Albania, the new Europe of the Balkans, dear friends. So after this bit of unavoidable light propaganda, let me warmly welcome you here in what was once a bastion of hardcore propaganda. Dear friends, it feels truly wonderful to reunite, reminiscing the shared journey initiated 9 years ago by Angela Merkel in Berlin, and standing here as equal members of the European political community. Some of you are from the EU, and some others, including myself, are from E without the EU. Yet, all of us firmly believe nowadays in the necessity of a common roof, a shared table, and even a common trench during these trying times, which it seems will worsen before improving. A war at Europe's doorstep, where an authoritarian regime has forced a democratic nation into a challenging self-defense of its territory, has starkly shown us that the world is changing more rapidly and differently than most of us anticipated. The recent devastating attack on Israel compelled another democratic nation into self-defense. As we stand in solidarity with Israel, the insidious spread of hatred demonstrates time and again that different worldviews are creating deeper divisions around and within our democratic community. A pressing question I frequently ponder is, how are we reacting to the evolving global scene beyond our shared European borders? While we stand united against Russia's aggressive actions in Ukraine, are we also formulating, or at least preparing, a clear response to the internal political challenges our community faces? Many challenges exist, but for those of us here representing the Europe without the EU, the most striking political challenge is the painful separation between EU member states and non-EU members. Living without the EU is no easy feat. The challenges faced by non-EU countries are intensified compared to their EU counterparts. While you are all aware of this, I won't cast any blame or air grievances here. Instead, I'd like to pose a few questions. Given the rapidly changing global dynamics, can we handle the separation between EU and non-EU countries in the same manner as we did just 9 years ago when the Berlin process started? In 2014, when leaders of the non-EU Balkan countries met in Berlin, it marked a unique historic European moment for this region. Leaders from all 6 Western Balkans united for the first time in the history of our neighborhoods. not to dispute the diverse interpretations of a shared past, but to embark on a cooperative journey towards a significant shared goal, transforming this underdeveloped and traumatized region into a zone mirroring the EU four freedoms: free movement of people, of goods, of services and capital. Over these 9 years, we have witnessed numerous meetings between us and the EU side and among ourselves as well. We have even pioneered our initiatives, like Open Balkan, which would not have been conceivable without the Berlin process. Reflecting on the past 9 years, we have gained invaluable experience from uniting, exchanging views, and learning to civilly agree to disagree on contentious issues. We owe our gratitude to countries like Germany, France, Italy, Austria, and all who have championed this initiative from 2014 onwards. I believe the infusion of this new European spirit in this region is the Berlin process' crowning achievement. Given our region's tumultuous history, this is a monumental and irreversible accomplishment of this visionary initiative. However, I must emphasize that the economic promises of the Berlin process have not been fully realized, to put it mildly, especially when compared to the transformative political mindset it has ushered. Angela Merkel aptly highlighted this during the Poland-Berlin process summit, when she said, "Highways don't require democracy to function properly, but democracies without infrastructure cannot properly work." It's commendable that thanks to Ursula and the Commission, and I must express here gratitude for Commissioner Varhelyi's relentless efforts in rocking and rolling all of us as a guiding and supporting close friend of every Western Balkan country, we are taking now a very significant step towards substantial economic change in the upcoming years through the new growth plan for the Western Balkans. This is the first bold step forward after a frustrating repetition of more of the same in dealing with non-tariff barriers and various incompatible documents within the region for work, trade, education, and so on. Albania has appreciated since day one the huge added value we all can create by delivering in this direction, and we have done our part. But the truth is that while efforts to lift non-tariff barriers and ensure mutual document recognition are crucial, the process has been encumbered by long-standing bilateral issues among some member countries of the region. To elucidate my point on the need for more support, consider this. Our EU neighbours receive €4,517 per capita annually from the EU, while Western Balkan 6 countries receive only €138 per capita through EU-financed programs annually. Aren't these figures a stark testament of the frightening scale of a class division, I must say, that has progressively deepened the separation of our common ground within the same home of Europe? In all these years of subsequent shaking crises for all the continent, while the nature and the depth of those crises have brought us so naturally closer in the human and political level. The funds available to us through the WBIF under the Balkan Investment Plan are significant. However, 90% of them are loans, and only 10% are grants. Additionally, the mechanism for accessing them is outdated and is slow. Please understand I'm not suggesting equal financial benefits for non-EU countries or an expedited EU membership process. The merit-based approach towards the full EU membership must continue for our own benefit. What I'm saying is that in today's fast-evolving global landscape and in a world where long-term strategic and at the same time expedited decision-making is becoming more and more the advantage of autocracies that are gathering forces to force the change of the way the world is organized since World War II, we should explore alternative avenues to bridge existing divides, ensuring a harmonious coexistence for Europe's future and to mitigate the danger of such a divide before it may harm Europe from within. I won't delve here deep into the idea of a larger union of 33, 35 or 40 instead of the actual 27, which is something quite challenging to foresee in any near future of such a time of incredible events, big and small, within various perimeters. Instead, I simply ask, would it be more pragmatic maybe to reshape the path from accession talks commencement to full membership and not rush with good intentions to put deadlines of further enlargements, which not only cannot be nor agreed and either maintained by all 27, but also contradict the fundamental merit-based principle of each individual country full integration? And wouldn't it be fairer and more efficient to address the inertia of this division by introducing an observing member status for countries transitioning from opening accession talks to full membership? Such an intermediate status, which would grant certain privileges, of course, without voting rights, could significantly benefit all parties involved, enhancing political unity within democratic Europe and governance accountability within the Western Balkans. If we can move beyond the idea of a distant relationship and function more like partners sharing a home, we would better understand mutual challenges and we will better share the burdens of the undoubtedly challenging times ahead. The new growth plan is a promising start towards a fresh path, which we should courageously and ambitiously explore to prevent the anguish of a potential separation after a union that never truly materialized. Thank you once and again, et vive l'Europe. And now let me pass the floor to Chancellor Scholz for his remarks.
Dear colleagues, distinguished guests, and Prime Minister Edi, I know that Albania is known for its hospitality, and this is proven today. We already realized it, and we realized it earlier when we had the meeting with the European Council. I want to thank you and your team for the very good preparation of the summit, and also the many high-level and ministerial meetings that took place in Tirana in the last months in the framework of the Berlin process. I have a lot of very good reports about the meetings. They were very effective. I think we are well prepared. Yes, I remember well how we met last year in Berlin. We all agreed that the Berlin process is the best instrument to not only unleash the full potential of regional cooperation, but also to speed up the EU integration of all Western Balkan countries. This assessment is just as true today as it was last year. The Berlin process is a forum of cooperation when cooperation is needed more than ever. Russia's war against Ukraine has once more shown how important it is that we speak with one European voice and that we cooperate. I will really underline. And as you mentioned in your speech, I think it is absolutely clear that when we are sitting together here, we know that there is a new, very difficult situation not that far from us happening with this aggression of Hamas against Israel and all the consequences it will and might have. And yes, also the multiple crises here in the region, in the Western Balkans, underline the urgent need to work together and overcome antagonism. It is time to overcome conflicts that have continued for far too long and only hold your countries back. The recent escalations in the north of Kosovo have proven just how important that is. We need to finally come back to the implementation of the agreements under the EU-led normalization dialogue. All the more, I'm glad that this year's summit takes place for the first time in a Western Balkan country. It is a strong signal and underlines the ownership of the region. We should use this occasion to concentrate on the goal that all Western Balkans societies share, the integration within the region and further progress on the path of EU accession. Last year, you made major steps in that regard by agreeing on and signing 3 mobility agreements. and I'm truly grateful that 4 of the 6 countries have ratified the agreements by now. The impact of these agreements for the people of the Western Balkans is very concrete. They can now travel between borders with only an ID card. They can complete their studies or take a job offer in neighboring country. We should build on that, and hence the agreements as already planned and discussed today our ideas about how to make regional cooperation a success story. Any progress you make on the common regional market will bring you significantly closer to EU standards. You can count on my support and that of the German government, and I'm sure I also speak on behalf of my colleagues. This is what the Berlin process stands for. Let us continue to put this into action. Thank you.
Thank you, Chancellor. And before giving the floor to the President of the European Commission, I want to tell all of you that Ursula preceded you all by coming yesterday and opening the doors for the young Albanians and the youngsters in the regions to start apply for the year 2024-2025 of the College of Europe in Tirana. And I really want to thank everyone that has made it possible after we decided so in the previous summit here in Tirana of the EU and Western Balkans. So Ursula, thank you again for all you are doing for us and also for surprising us in the speed of delivery from words to deeds, which is not very usual for the European Union, right? So please.
Thank you very much, Prime Minister, dear Eddie, Bundeskanzler, dear friends. What a story we've just seen on the screen. What a story. And what a powerful message it is that it is not only the 10th Berlin process, but the very first time in a Western Balkan country. A powerful message in a world that you described, Eddie, where we are witnessing an atrocious war unleashed by Russia against Ukraine, Ukraine fighting for its sovereignty and territorial integrity and for our values. We have also seen a heinous terroristic attack of Hamas, killing more than 1,400 people, men, women, children, babies, only because they are Jews. We're living on a burning planet. We're challenged by Gen AI. In these times, you need best friends, and you said you are the best of friends we can wish for. So let's work that you join a European Union that has proven that it is possible to have together lasting peace and sustainable prosperity. And indeed, what a powerful message yesterday when we started the registration in Tirana, College of Europe, and those young students will now study European affairs. They come from Albania, the whole Western Balkan, from the European Union. What a powerful message for the next generation that will be carrying the European Union idea forward. The Berlin process, as you said, started in 2014, and it's worth to look into the papers from that time. If I may quote, the goal to make real progress in the reform process and regional economic cooperation. That's why we're here. And we have laid a good foundation already with our 30 billion economic and investment plan. It is delivering. Half of the plan, 16 billion, actually are already deployed, but more needs to be done. And I want to focus a few minutes on that one. Our economies, the Western Balkan and the European single market, are still too far apart. The Western Balkan economies are 35% of the EU average. So we really have to tap into the potential that is here in the Western Balkan and get it closer to the European single market. And this is what the growth plan is all about. We know that from the experience of enlargement, the power of enlargement, of course, lies in the values that unite us with the countries that joined the European Union step by step. But the second power is the economic development. Whenever there was an enlargement, not only those countries who accessed the European Union had a huge boost in their economic development because they joined the single market, but also the European Union improved because the single market got bigger. And this is the principle now of the growth plan. We want to basically open in specific areas the doors of the single market, the European single market, to Western Balkan companies. And this we have to engineer now. We are opening it in areas like free movement of goods and services, road transport, energy, electricity, the EU's digital single market, and very important, making cashless payments easier with a single European payment area, just to name a few elements. But, of course, opening the door is not enough. The Western Balkan countries also need to complete their regional common market. And this means that it is a condition that the Western Balkan countries also give access to their neighbors, to their market. In other words, if I turn it around, if there are blockages, the only one you can block is yourself. The others will move on. And to move on, there is needed reforms, deep-rooted reforms, also to improve the business climate, to make the environment more attractive. These reforms will be accompanied by funding for investment from the European Union if they take place. So this growth plan is a very strong incentive. It's an incentive to open the doors economically, but also to ask for opening the borders between the Western Balkan countries and to do the necessary reforms. With that comes the funding for investment. Only by working together, we will bring the Western Balkans right where you belong, to the heart of the European Union. History indeed is on the move. My message is, this is a decisive moment now. Don't miss the opportunity, grab the opportunity, seize the moment, and we work with you together for that. Many thanks, Eddie.
Thank you. And before giving the floor to the President of the European Council, I just want to share with you a statistic that the President of the European Council is close to equal in number of visits in the region, all his predecessors counted together. If EU would be NATO and he was Jens Stoltenberg with an extension of mandate of 1 year, he would overcome them. So please, Charles.
Thank you, dear Prime Minister, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen. First, I would like to join the French to say thank you, Eddie, for your warm welcome, for your hospitality, and for this great video, which is showing very clearly the broad context of this meeting. It's a pleasure to be back in Tirana. Ladies and gentlemen, I would like also to thank you, Chancellor Scholz, dear Olaf, for Germany's leadership of this Berlin process and for your strong personal commitment to the region. Several weeks ago in Bled, I asked the question, is the EU only content to manage crisis, or do we want to lead and shape the future? And the last 18 months have provided a strong and clear answer. We want to lead and we want to shape the future. And enlargement is part of this answer, because enlargement is an investment in peace and prosperity, both for the EU and for our future member states. And this Berlin process plays an important role in boosting operational, effective cooperation between the Western Balkan partners and the EU, with EU integration as the guiding light. In the Western Balkans, your journey to the EU began more than 20 years ago. And yes, it has been a slow road, too slow, disappointing to you in the region and to us in the EU. But now we all feel, we all know it's time to keep our promise. We have already re-energized the process, but we still have a lot to do to get ready on both sides. Our partners and friends in the region, you know that you must deliver on your commitments, starting with the necessary reforms. And in the EU, we need to prepare to welcome new members. I repeat again, I believe, we must be ready on both sides by 2030 to enlarge, and I know this deadline has been met with some skepticism in your region because you have been waiting for a long time. And dear Eddie, I know you have compared enlargement to a bride that never shows up to the wedding. I would like to tell you that the bride is now actively preparing the wedding. In the EU, I know not everyone is in favor of mentioning a date. Enlargement is and will always remain a merit-based process. And putting forward a date has got the ball rolling as an encouragement, a support to redouble our efforts for the Western Balkans to do the reforms that are urgent and needed, and for us on the EU side to launch this serious debate on the future of the EU. Just a few days ago in Grenada, together with President Sanchez, EU leaders held their first in-depth discussion on this topic, and we agree we must work hard to get ready for future enlargements. Ladies and gentlemen, Russia's war against Ukraine as we focus our attention on the geopolitics of enlargement and on the Western Balkans region. And now more than ever, we must stand together to defend the international law, always and everywhere, to build on what unites us and to support the people of Ukraine. I'm personally convinced that we will be stronger. With you, the Western Balkans at our heart, we will be stronger to set global standards, to cooperate with our partners, to promote our values, and to defend our common interests. Ladies and gentlemen, you have made your goal of EU membership crystal clear many times, and we want you to succeed. We'll support you on your road to the EU. So how can we make it happen? First, through gradual integration into EU policies, so the benefits can be felt more quickly by your people, even during the accession process. And this integration could take place in different areas, especially the single market and the economic cooperation. We have ambitious frameworks in place that support the alignment with the EU acquis, and we should use these to phase in future member states. Second point, completing the common regional market would also bolster economic growth and trade in the Western Balkans. It would make it more attractive for investments. And I'm very pleased that a new agreement on the professional qualifications will be signed today. We are also hopeful that the 3 regional mobility agreements will be ratified by all countries soon, because it will benefit both the Western Balkans and the EU. Finally, ladies and gentlemen, last but not least, we can't let bilateral conflicts hold us back. Resolving them could be more painful than reforms, but it must be done. Don't let the ghosts of the past steal your future. The recent tensions between Serbia and Kosovo have again brought this to the forefront. In fact, you are walking the same path as the founding members of our union. There is no cooperation without reconciliation. There is no stable future without reconciliation. And we all know reconciliation requires political courage and sincere focus on the future. Focus on the future, it will be the spirit for this EU Western Balkans Summit that will take place very soon in December in Brussels. Finally, ladies and gentlemen, friends, our people, especially our young people, they want a brighter, a more optimistic future, a future that's fair, prosperous, and full of opportunities. I'm certain we can make a difference. It's time to make it happen together for the good of our entire continent. You can count on our sincere cooperation and commitment. I thank you.
Thank you very much, Charles. And I should share with you that it is always a very special pleasure to welcome here in Albania the Prime Minister of Spain, namely Pedro, for two very special reasons. First, he was a bit younger, I must say, when he made knowledge of our region by looking from close the pains and the hardships of our past. And second, because until he came here, we never had a Spanish Prime Minister landing in Albania. And for us, Spain was just Real Madrid and Barcelona and nothing else than that. So, Pedro, thank you for coming again, and the floor is yours.
Thank you, Eddie. Thank you, Prime Minister. Please let me start with my deepest gratitude to you as chair of the Berlin process for the invitation to attend as presidency of the Council of the European Union this meeting today. And I would also like to thank the previous speakers, Olaf, Ursula, Charles, for your interventions. The Berlin process is playing a key role in the path of the Western Balkans to join the European Union family, and this role is even more important now when the enlargement is a high priority of the European Union. Our meeting today takes place in a very crucial moment. First, because the challenges of our continent have pushed the enlargement to the European Union high on the agenda. The Russian invasion of Ukraine was a turning point, but it is not the only one. The COVID pandemic and also the digital transformation and the ecological transition that we all need to face have made it clear that we need to walk the path of the future together. This requires efforts from the meeting of the heads of the states and government of the European Union in the Spanish city of Granada, I believe set the ground for the start of the
condicionando la agenda internacional, los esfuerzos diplomáticos y seguramente en los próximos instantes también el presidente del Gobierno en funciones hará alguna referencia a esa situación. Escuchábamos esta mañana al ministro de Exteriores Álvarez, que justamente la imagen lo pueden ver sentado detrás de Sánchez, hacer una mención de que España defiende el derecho de Israel a defenderse tras el ataque terrorista de Hamás, pero siempre respetando el derecho internacional y protegiendo a la población civil palestina.
Debe evitarse una escalada bélica en el conflicto, acaba de decir el presidente del Gobierno en funciones en la intervención que precisamente acaba de terminar en esta cumbre del proceso, en esta cumbre que se está celebrando en Tirana, la cumbre de líderes del proceso de Berlín.
My dear friends from the EU without you. So first and foremost.
Bueno, pues acaba de interrumpir la señal que estábamos recibiendo de Albania. Veíamos ahora que era el primer ministro de Albania el que estaba interviniendo porque va dando palabra a todos los líderes que participan en esa cumbre y el último en intervenir ha sido el presidente del Gobierno, Pedro Sánchez.
Sí, y hablaba de ese conflicto que existe en Israel. Por cuarto día consecutivo, Israel ha pedido a los civiles de la franja que se desplacen al sur ante una inminente incursión terrestre. Eso al norte de la franja de Gaza. Al sur, muchos aguardan la apertura del paso de Rafah con Egipto. Eso que permitiría la entrada de ayuda humanitaria. Pero recordar que Egipto hace unos minutos ha dicho que no se va a realizar esa apertura del cruce de Rafah, ya que Israel no ha dado permiso aún.
Al sur de Gaza, decenas de desplazados aguardan con sus pertenencias junto a la puerta de entrada a Egipto. Muchos palestinos ponen su esperanza en la apertura de este paso, el de Rafah. Para Umran, gazatí de 13 años con pasaporte británico, es la oportunidad de dejar atrás una guerra que cree injusta. Me siento mal por los niños, no es culpa de ellos esta guerra, no es culpa de nadie y no debería ocurrir. Desplazados hacia el centro y el sur. Por cuarto día, Israel ha ordenado evacuar el norte de la franja ante una inminente incursión por tierra que se retrasa.
Es la imagen que estamos recibiendo en directo de Gaza. Vemos a numerosos ciudadanos ahora mismo recopilando lo que parecen víveres. No sabemos si para llevárselos a un lugar seguro ante la anunciada inminente